Since the series of devastating floods in January of 2023, Auckland Council has approved the building of 4,000 new homes, wait for it, on floodplains. Many of these will be built in areas where locals had to flee for their lives during the previous flooding events. Resident Steph Deakin kayaked her children to safety during the anniversary weekend floods in 2021, and her home is one of those is now available to be built on. So the question this morning, is this the leaky homes crisis for a new generation? John Tookey is the construction professor at AUT and he joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. That's a very big question, but is it?
Well, I know it sounds a little bit mundane when you consider the sort of geopolitical chaos that's taking place at the moment. However, it's a hell of an issue, and the reason being that we're just creating a problem for ourselves in the future. This is a worldwide problem, by the way. We're doing this as cities expand globally. They're building in more marginal areas, and one of the marginal areas is on floodplains close to river areas that historically weren't built on.
Right. It is, I mean, you say it's not a major issue in global terms. You're right, but it's like several $1 billion, the last ones, are costing councils. It's hugely expensive.
It's massive.
So is it a mistake?
Unfortunately, it has all the potential to be so. I mean, the problem here is one of what the hell is council there for if it's not to demonstrate the fact that this area or that area should or should not be developed. If you're going to proactively plan a city or a development of a township, whatever it may be, you have to think in terms of what's going to flood, what's not, what are the services we need, what are the wastewater and all the other services in terms of horizontal infrastructure, etc., have got to be put in place. This just means that we've got a problem for the future. All we're doing as well is we're putting council in the way of potential liabilities for the future. Because if you built a house in that sort of zone, why did you tell me to build it here when it was obviously...
What about they say, because there's lots of land, there's different categories, right? And there's some land that council has actually bought up, because there's some down the street from my house, where they've bought it and they're basically turning it into a wetland because it will flood again. That's guaranteed. But there's other areas where they say, oh no, you can mitigate. And a lot of these areas, they're saying you can mitigate. You know, is that a realistic sort of option?
Well, in reality, yes, you can mitigate. However, there are always going to be certain areas that are going to be more prone to it. You also have the cumulative effect of multiple different development areas all coming side by side. The case that's just been talked about in terms of Kumeu, there's a massive development area, all of which is in marginal stuff that used to be a wine estate and is now being improved, which basically means that now you've got a hard stormwater runoff area which is contributing to the stormwater pulse, which is manifesting itself just down the river in the areas that are also being built upon as well. So, you know, you have a cumulative effect that's taking place, and it's not a straightforward exercise, and it's certainly something at the moment which I don't necessarily think has been thought through in its entirety.
So some of the work that's being done to mitigate flooding in one area might actually be contributing to it in another.
It's not so much mitigate. I mean, what's happening is the improvements are actually land improvements for the purpose of construction. So we're talking about putting in hard course, base course, all that sort of stuff, which just creates a hard water runoff. So it is an improvement, but it's obviously an unimprovement in terms of what's going to happen down the river. That having been said, there are other things that can be put in place. For example, water detention systems and similar, which store water rather than dumping it straight into the most available water course. And it can be used for things like, for example, flushing toilets or watering gardens or whatever it is, just by having a stormwater tank and making it as part of the build process.
All right. Hey, appreciate you coming on the program this morning. John, thanks very much.
No problem.
That's John Tookey, construction professor at AUT.